reports from the Wall Street Journal saying the US Asia Digital Bank
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the live trading hour, which is brought to you by the Live Trade Room, where we look for high probability intraday trading opportunities across some of the world's largest markets, from your foreign exchange to commodities and also the global indices markets as well. So we'll do our preparation as we await the US cash open in about 20 minutes, where we get an influx of capital into this market and we'll see how we can position ourselves accordingly. Okay, so let's start with a risk warning. As always, please be mindful and be very much aware of the risks involved in trading financial markets. So take a brief moment to familiarize yourself with our risk warning currently up on screen. And as we start, every time we get to our trading desk, what is important in terms of a routine is to be able to identify some of the major news events that are likely to impact perhaps some of your decision making. So yesterday there was very little to deal with. Today now we've got very little data release or news releases to have to contend with. So it's really reverting back to the macro picture for these markets. Wednesday, just to have a look at the rest of the week. We don't have a huge amount tomorrow either, so crude oil inventories is probably the biggest event in tomorrow's markets. We've got a bank holiday in Japan on Thursday. Excuse me, that's our squawk service, so I'll just mute that for just a second and then we'll turn it back on. The big news really for the week is with regards to the ECB. So we're very likely to see rates remain lower for longer at 0%, and we've got the ECB press conference as well. Christine Lagarde will be talking to these markets, so they'll be watching very, very carefully to see what the ECB's approach is to monetary policy, i.e. quantitative easing or rate increases, and the general sort of rollout of the vaccine, the reopening of economies, travel, things like that are all very, very important factors, and the ECB will be discussing all of the above, no doubt. And just we close out the week again. It's a bank holiday in Japan, so the Asian markets will be a little bit lighter on Thursday and Friday, and we finished the week pretty much with manufacturing and services data. Obviously these are two major sectors across the Eurozone, the UK, and also in the US as well. So they've been performing particularly well. We're looking at figures in around the late 50s, early 60s. That shows and proves expansion. So above 50 means that these sectors are expanding, and below 50 means that they're contracting. So they're performing broadly pretty well. So that's on Friday. So no major news events really today. We've had the RBA with their monetary policy meeting minutes being released. So we'll have a look at the Aussie dollar now in just a second. So what we'll do is let's get up our let's see what opportunities we have for you today. We'll bring up our trading platform. We'll do just a quick review on last night's trade plan session. So we'll discuss some of the markets. So yesterday, what was interesting about yesterday's market is we were looking for some continuation as we approached the US trading session. We started to see significant reversals perhaps across these markets, and we just want to be mindful that as we approach the US Open that won't happen again. So we're looking at some dollar strength. We're looking for opportunities for dollar strength. We'll go into each of these in just a moment. So these prices are kind of much lower than where we were looking to sell them yesterday. Not so much with the euro. We had a bit of a pullback yesterday in the euro. Bias is still to the downside. The euro yen, we're now nicely below the 129.50 level, and with the pound yen, we're below that 50.60. In fact, we did get an opportunity with that pullback yesterday. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, so we got a pullback to a high of the 150.76. So we saw the move to the downside. We've had a pullback to that level, and then we've seen a nice significant move to the downside. But as you can see, we kind of still have to be quite patient with these markets, because we've just drifted into a bit of a sideways moving pattern. So let me get up our pen. We'll discuss it in a bit more detail. I'll turn our Squawk service on just so we can get any sort of live updates on these markets. So what this market has drifted into basically overnight is a bit of a sideways moving price action, and that's markets move in these fashion in that kind of direction, and you can often go through prolonged periods of sideways moving patterns where the market extends to the downside, and then it allows the market to catch up. You can identify these levels, and then when they break through, then those are high probability trades around that kind of zone. So really we're looking for prices, the breakout trade, and now it looks like we're getting the pullback trade into that little zone. So you often get a couple of opportunities to get into it. Clearly defined stop loss just above that high. So we'll be looking at that now in just a second. So a decent move in the pound yen to the downside. So really there's a lot of weakness or continued weakness in the pound. So that's going to take a little bit more of a focus of ours right now. And the New Zealand dollar trade, we were looking for the breakout below yesterday's low around the 69.12, and we've extended to the downside, and now we've kind of pulled back towards that level. So and kind of drifted into a bit of a sideways moving pattern, as you can see. So in this market, we're seeing kind of prolonged sideways moving patterns. The market's moving from top left to bottom right. So the direction in which we want to trade these markets is clear cut, and we just got to be patient for the opportunity. Okay, so these are pretty much our opportunities again. What is putting a bit of a spanner in the spokes is the global indices. So we spoke about the potential when this market makes this little move to the downside. You can see what happens. We generally see some buying creeping in, and we spoke a lot yesterday about how this market reacts to the 50-period moving average. Eventually we get a little bit of upward pressure. So that's just analyzing the technicals behind markets like your S&P 500. If we look through some of the other markets, kind of in similar, let's say, periods of indecision really. Will they roll over to the downside? That would certainly support our dollar trades. So the Dow Jones is looking a bit more positive. So there's just generally an air of indecision with these indice markets, and the Bitcoin looks like it could be breaking new lows pretty soon below that 2,900 level sorry, that 29,000 level, should I say. So a lot more pain for those that are buying Bitcoin in this market. And we've seen these very significant corrections, you know, many times as well. So just looking at some of these markets on daily time frames, it's always better to have an understanding of what's going on in these markets on the bigger time frame. It allows you to assess the price action and you know, almost plan accordingly. So we are firmly below this little handle here, the 69.12. So we're virtually at that price now. The S&P. So let's get the S&P up. So we've got slightly convoluted market conditions now today. So we're seeing some mild positivity in the indice markets. That should put the dollar under a little bit of pressure, but with this growth story in the US and optimism with the US economy and the reopening and the rollout of vaccines and all those sorts of things, performance of a whole variety of different sectors from manufacturing to services, the economy is generally performing well. What is a big lag is the unemployment situation, but that's the same in Europe and the UK and everything. So we're still in the euro-dollar trade to the downside. We've had to be really quite patient, but also there's now potentially a few reasons to be a little bit more concerned about the trade. Certainly, if we end up breaking above this little 2-day high in here, the 118.22. So that would then become a bit of a reversal trade to the downside. So we'll amend that trade now in a second. We can look for a sell trade in the pound dollar, further downward pressure. Same with the pound yen, potentially with the New Zealand dollar as well. Let's see if there's any further levels. Okay, so prices have really pulled back to these levels of support and resistance. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll focus on the pound yen and the New Zealand dollar. Just because they're in marginally better positions right now. So at the bottom of the screen, we have the US markets opening in about 6 minutes. So we've got a bit of time on our hands. We don't really need all of these, so I'll just tidy this up as well. So our trade plan is quite straightforward. We're looking for sell trades across these three markets. So from the 136.54, we're looking for further downside price action. From the 149.27, we're looking for some further continuation. And from the 69.12, we're looking for this move to the downside in these three markets. So okay, so we're just going to monitor the top three, and let's get in and see. So these trades can really get our focus. The other market that we were discussing last night at depth was the oil market. So we can see that there's a bit of positivity, mild positivity at that, but in the stock markets, and we're seeing kind of similar indecision, really continuation in that sort of indecisive response from the oil markets. So and we're running into the 100 period moving average as well, so that's clearly providing some additional support, so we can certainly keep an eye on that as well. So you can see really on screen that there's kind of a lack of volatility in these markets with purpose and direction. Okay, let's the pound dollar. Let's go in and have a look at this on a smaller time frame. Getting a little bit of a bounce back off the lows. So we've got a little breakout to the downside. We do have this market. There's a level of support and resistance just sitting in at these levels. Prices are just beginning to roll as we approach. So we'd want to see the close in a couple of minutes in this trade, and then if we get some continuation, it might be worth getting into that trade to the downside with a stop loss potentially Okay, so we can keep a close eye on the pound dollar to the downside. So looking for a pullback trade, high probability pullback trade. Pullback sell trade around yeah, so the 136.25. This one's quite straightforward. This is the monthly low. Sorry, this is the yesterday's daily low. And prices are just back at that level now. In fact, just have a look at it on the hourly. It's just a straightforward 1 hour reversal on this little bit of consolidation that we're seeing just in at this level in here. The bias is still firmly to the downside, but we're just getting a bit of a pullback to this level as these markets now close. So we can look to sell around this particular price. Around the 149.29 now. 149.29. 1.29. So we can certainly get our trading accounts ready. We'll get those set up. And New Zealand just below the 69.12. We've had a strong move to the downside. It's a bit more grinding, but it's pushing higher, but we're running into strong levels of resistance at these highs, so it would be classified as a pullback trade. It would be a pullback sell trade around the 69.12 level. Okay, so that's our trade plan. This is what we're looking to see happening. We've got an opportunity now in the pound dollar to the downside, so we'll get our trading platforms open. We can get into that trade. Okay, so right, we'll also amend our euro dollar trade, so we'll start to book in a bit of profit on the trade. No, excuse me, we'll be looking to remove some risk on the trade. Just the New Zealand dollar has just been held at those levels. We're looking at the euro dollar as well, top left hand corner. And we've also got the pullback trade in the pound dollar to the downside. So we're just getting that little move just below this little candlestick in here. So it's 36.21, and we're getting some extension to the downside. So oops. Just want to see what's going on in this market on the slightly smaller frames. And then look at the 5 minute. It's just a straightforward pullback, and now we're just rolling lower. Okay, so what this gives us is the pullback, and then it gives us a structural failure to the downside with prices extending lower. So we'd certainly expect prices to be pushing down to these levels, and we've got perhaps a stop loss up at these levels in here. So we'll get ready to get into this trade. We're just getting that little break to the downside now. So we're just getting into the pound dollar across the board. Now it's just accelerating lower, so we've just got into those trades. Looking at New Zealand dollar. We can also add the pound yen. And we can look to get into the New Zealand dollar as well. So we're back at that important level. So I'll run through these trades now in just a second. Okay, just double checking these opportunities. So we're actually in all three trades now. So we're in the pound dollar to the downside, and we've had a nice little move lower, getting close to making new hourly lows in the pound yen. So hopefully we get some continuation on that, and the New Zealand dollar as well. Sorry, let me get into the bigger time frame. Okay, so our stop loss is just above this little handle in here. It's a technical level. We've had an awful lot of sideways moving price action within this little zone. We've broken to the downside. We've kind of pulled back into that level, and now we're looking like we're concentrating on squeezing further lower. So we just want our stop loss just above this level. Same kind of analysis really. Technical stop loss just above this little sideways moving pattern, and on the New Zealand it's looking to place our stop loss above this sort of major level of consolidation again. So as long as the prices are below that and we're looking like we're continuing to push lower, now what we want to do is to try and be quite proactive with our stop losses. So we're okay, we're comfortable with these sell trades, so we'll just look to trade those opportunities accordingly now. See if I can zoom in this one a little bit more. So there's our entry levels, there's our stop losses on each of those trades, and we are looking to, if we just start with the pound dollar, just for education purposes really, we're looking to trade the pullback. So prices extended to the downside, we get a pullback, we look to see what's going on at that price, and then we get the flush trade to the downside. So we're in that as we speak. What I'll do is I'll zoom in. So this is what we're quite interested in. Same situation we kind of had 3 hours ago. We had the explosive move to the downside. We have had a pullback, and now we're looking for that continuation trade in the direction in which the market is moving, which is very much to the downside. Our euro dollar trade is performing quite nicely, so we want to see if this price can continue lower as well. And then the New Zealand dollar, just looking to add that as well to the fold. Any questions, of course, feel free to post them. Sorry, just bear with me a second. I've just got to post some information across. I'll just be a couple of minutes. Sorry, let's delete that.
We're just under 10 minutes away from the bottom of the hour and the release of US housing data for June. We'll be leaving with the housing starts number for June. Range of estimates between 1.5 million and 1.693 million. Median estimate for housing starts 1.59 million against a prior 1.572 million. Building permits, range of estimates between 1.6 million and 1.745 million. Median estimate for building permits 1.7 million against a prior 1.683 million. We do get house price data from Canada as well. The TerraNet National Bank House Price Index for June, month on month a prior of 2.8%, year on year a prior of 13.7%. We do also get the release of the Philadelphia Fed non-manufacturing survey. It doesn't show up on most calendars, but is due at the bottom of the hour. The July read, prior read of 59.6.
Okay, so these are our current sell trades. If we just put here we go. So we're looking to trade that move to the downside. We're looking for these markets to continue lower, and same situation here with the New Zealand dollar. So far so good, and we're making new lows as well in our euro dollar sell trade. So hopefully we'll be able to book in some good profits today. 36. So I'll be back to you now in just a couple of seconds. The trades are there currently up on the screen. So working with slightly larger stop losses than perhaps we would do, because these markets are quite volatile. You get some quite considerable snapbacks as well. So we're kind of wanting to err on the side of caution. This is July going into summer markets now, so we just want to give ourselves a bit of extra room in these types of market conditions.
3 minutes till US housing data. US housing starts for June, seen at 1.59 million, and building permits seen at 1.7 million. Also get the Philly Fed non-manufacturing index for July, prior read of 59.6, and house price data from Canada, month on month, a prior of 2.8, year on year, a prior of 13.7%, data in just under 3 minutes. So we've got these housing start numbers out pretty shortly. So hopefully we're in 3 decent trades now. Well, 4 including the euro dollar sell trade, which we've been in for a couple of days. But the pound dollar to the downside, the dollar yen. Sorry, excuse me.
the pound dollar to the downside, the pound yen to the downside.
We'll be leading with US housing starts seen at 1.59 million.
And also the New Zealand dollar to the downside. So this housing starts number could impact the kind of the flow of the dollar, but it's unlikely to do so. So this is the news event. So let me take these arrows off the page. So it's looking at building permits and housing starts. They're very low impact news events. So they're normally within the range of, plus or minus a relatively minor amount, so it's never anything hugely volatile. And the figures themselves, grinding higher, there's an element of positivity. This is your first kind of
10 seconds.
Just little rollover. So is there a peak, and is that in line with kind of the overall anxiety in these markets at the moment, where the stock markets are beginning to roll over to the downside?
1.643 million for starts and 1.598 million for permits. The starts has been revised down to 1.546 million.
So less than expected.
Philly Fed non-manufacturing drops to 53.1 from 59.6, and Canadian house prices come in at 2.7% month on month and 16% year on year. So US housing starts 1.643 million, beats the 1.59 million expected. There was a down revision to the prior month though. 1.546 million from 1.572. There was a miss on building permits, 1.598 million versus 1.7 million expected. Philly Fed non-manufacturing drops 53.1 from 59.6. Just looking at some of the breakdowns here, employment 24.8, that's up from 4.3 prior.
Okay, so it looks like we're pretty close to making new lows in the pound yen. Just extending below these lows down here. The euro yen is also following suit. We're going to need to pack up there, guys, as we've got another trading session now. But we will be back again tomorrow at 12:30, free through our YouTube channel. So feel free to join us if you can again tomorrow around 12:30, and that's UK time, by the way. So hopefully you can join us for that. It looks like the pound yen is on a significant tear to the downside, which is good. The euro yen is also following suit. And the euro dollar trade to the downside is quite close to making new lows. The pound dollar is currently making new lows, and we're not too far away from the New Zealand dollar either. Okay, good. That's 2, 4. Okay, so let's see if we can get a straightforward sort of continuation move to the downside, or are we going to have to put up with a little bit of sort of pullback, and we'll see whatever these markets give. But just to clarify on these 4 trades, the reason why we're trading these markets in the direction in which we're trading them is very, very simple and straightforward. The overall trend is to the downside. The trend is your friend. We want to trade with that move. This is the euro dollar. Same analysis really on the pound yen. We're wanting to trade in the direction in which this market is moving, which is to the downside. So we put a bit of planning and a bit of prep into making sure that we're trying to trade these markets in the right direction. We're only just breaking out these levels now, but you can see the more recent price action, there's pressure to the downside, as there has been before. So we're looking for this next leg to the downside. That's what we're looking to trade. And same situation for the pound yen. So if you look at it on the daily time frame, the momentum is very, very clearly to the downside, and that's what we want to try and get involved in. And we'll let the market decide when we need to exit these trades as well. So we're looking for, we'll see what profits we get from these markets. Okay, I do apologize. We do need to go to our next trading session. So we're going to stick with these trades. They're currently up on screen. The euro dollar to the downside, the pound dollar to the downside, the pound yen to the downside, and the New Zealand dollar to the downside as well. And so far so good, but hopefully we'll get some continuation this afternoon. So let's see how we get on with those. And of course, what we want to do is to try and mitigate risk as quickly as we can in those trades, and then look to let those winners go and see what sort of profit we can generate from these trades. Any questions, feel free to post them in the chat box, guys. If not, we'll let you guys go. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow at 12:30. So if you want to join us for some more live trading, feel free to do so. And we look forward to seeing you then. Give us a thumbs up if you can. Subscribe to our channel, and obviously go to our website, thelivetraderoom.com, if you have any further questions about trading financial markets. Okay, so look, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you tomorrow. From everyone here, bye for now.